Greetings to all. My name is Krati Tomar of class 12th Humanities from the Vidyanjali International School, Indore, MP. So this is my art integration project of economics and the topic is classification of goods. So basically in economics we divide or we classify goods in two broad categories. So the first category is final goods and intermediate goods, and the second category is consumption goods and capital goods. So the first category, it deals on the grounds of production. It stands that the goods are in the stage of production or they are out of that chain. And the second classification of goods tells that whether the goods are consumed by a customer for direct satisfaction or whether it is consumed by a producer. So it is on the basis of the consumption, as the name suggests. So now let's see in depth of these two classification. So the first classification, final goods and intermediate goods. So final goods, they are classified into two more categories. First is final consumer goods, which means the goods which are consumed or which are purchased by the consumer for their direct satisfaction. And final producer goods are the goods which are consumed by the producer for further production. So these are the two final goods. And there is this intermediate goods. So intermediate goods are the goods which are not out of the production line, they are in the line of production and they are not finished yet. So now let's see in the detail of their difference, that what is the difference between final goods and the intermediate goods. So the final goods are the goods which are out of the boundary line of production. That means these goods are not again put into the production process. They are final and ready to use, and these are fixed goods, and final goods are not resold. They are just bought by the consumer for direct satisfaction of wants. No resold or reselling is there. Then there is no value addition in final goods. The final goods are not having value addition in them, and the final goods are the goods which are included in the national income. Now let's see about intermediate goods. Intermediate goods are there in the boundary line of production, and to make it simple we can say intermediate goods are the raw materials and they could be resold and value addition is there. So that's why we don't use intermediate goods in the national income, because the cost of intermediate goods are already added in the final goods. So to give you an example of intermediate goods and final goods, I am taking this example. So here if I'll say that the wheat, flour and water is an intermediate good and the final good is bread. So we can say that the intermediate goods are wheat, flour and water, and the final good is bread. But it is not always that wheat and wheat, flour and water will always be intermediate goods and final goods will always be that bread only. No, that is not true. A bread can also be a intermediate good, because if a hotel will use bread for making sandwiches and then selling the sandwiches, in that case our bread will become an intermediate good. So it is very difficult for us to characterize that which thing is a final good and which is an intermediate good. So the simple answer is that to classify goods, the thing which on which it is depend, the classification depends is the end use. If you know the end use, then you can clearly classify the good in a final good or in an intermediate good. So this is about the final and the intermediate goods. Now we talk about consumption and capital goods. So the consumption goods, the first good is consumption goods, and consumption goods are divided into four types of goods. So the first good is durable. So the durable goods are the goods which can be used for more than 1 year, and its example is television or washing machine, etc. Whereas the semi-durable goods, these are the goods which we can use for 1 year, like clothes that we wear. Then comes the non-durable. Non-durable is that kind of goods which we can use only one time, like milk, butter, water that comes in a bottle, and bread, chips, like that. And the non-material goods and services, like services that we get from teachers, doctors, lawyers, etc. These are the consumption goods. So now it is clear that consumption goods are the goods which we consume, which are for the consumers, whereas capital goods are the goods which are consumed by the producer for increasing their production capacity. Okay, so now here's are some points for consumer goods and capital goods. So the consumer goods are the goods which directly satisfies the wants, and it is consumed by the household, and consumer goods are for the welfare of the people, whereas capital goods are used not for the direct satisfaction of wants but for profit maximization, and it is consumed by the producer. So the classification of goods here also, it depends that how we could classify a good into a capital or into a consumer good. So it also depends on the end use of that product. So I hope with this video it is clear that how many kinds of goods are there and how we can classify them. So thank you.